There are moments in sports that are bigger than the game itself. Moments when the roar of the crowd fades away and all that remains is the beating of a heart. Moments when the years of sacrifice, the hours of training, the tears shed in silence, all come rushing back in a single instant. This was one of those moments. It happened at the U.S. Open, inside the electric chaos of Louis Armstrong Stadium, where thousands of fans had gathered to watch the rising Filipina star Eala continue her historic run. But as the cameras scanned the court and the players warmed up, something inside the stadium shifted. A figure emerged from the tunnel, a man walking with quiet purpose, his eyes fixed on the court, his presence somehow both understated and enormous. Those who recognized him gasped. Those who did not recognize him quickly understood that this was no ordinary spectator. It was Eala, Alex's father, the man who had been there from the very beginning, the man who had held her hand on cracked courts in Quezon City, the man who had driven through the night to take her to tournaments no one believed she could win, the man who had sacrificed everything so that his daughter could stand on the biggest stage in tennis. And now, after years of watching from a distance, of supporting her through phone calls and video chats, of praying from the other side of the world, he was here, in New York, at the U.S. Open, watching his daughter play in a Grand Slam. The reaction from the fans was instantaneous. Tears filled the stands. Grown men covered their faces. Women held their children close. And when Eala looked up and saw her father sitting there, the mask of focus she had worn all tournament finally cracked. She smiled. She waved. And then she turned away quickly, wiping her eyes. Because this was not just a match. This was a homecoming. This was the moment a father and daughter had dreamed about for 21 years. And nobody expected it to happen like this. Before the world knew Eala as a tennis prodigy, before the sponsors, the trophies, and the screaming fans, there was a man with a dream and a daughter who believed in him. Eala was never a famous athlete. He was not a celebrity. He was a father, a quiet, determined man who saw something special in his daughter the first time she picked up a tennis racket. The family lived in Quezon City, a sprawling, bustling part of Manila where space is precious and tennis courts are rare. But Michael did not let that stop him. He found a court. He bought a racket. He started teaching Alex the fundamentals of the game, just as his own father had once taught him. Those early sessions were not glamorous. The court was cracked. The balls were old. The sun was brutal. But Alex loved every minute of it. She loved the sound of the ball hitting the strings. She loved the feeling of improvement, of getting better every single day. And Michael loved watching her fall in love with the game. He became her coach, her chauffeur, her trainer, and her biggest fan. He worked multiple jobs to pay for equipment and travel. He spent his weekends driving her to tournaments across the Philippines. He studied tennis strategy late into the night, learning everything he could so that he could help his daughter improve. He was not just raising a tennis player. He was building a champion. And he was doing it with nothing but hard work, faith, and an unshakable belief that his daughter was destined for greatness. That belief would be tested in ways he could never have imagined. But he never wavered. Not once. The road to professional tennis is brutal. It is expensive, exhausting, and unforgiving. And for a family from the Philippines, where tennis is not the national sport and funding is hard to come by, the challenges were even greater. Eala understood this. He knew that his daughter's dream would require sacrifices that went far beyond money. It would require time. It would require energy. It would require the family to make choices that other families could not understand. There were moments when the family had to decide between buying new equipment and paying bills. There were moments when Michael had to miss work to take Alex to a tournament. There were moments when the dream seemed too big, too far away, too impossible. But every time doubt crept in, Michael looked at his daughter. He watched her fight. He watched her improve. He watched her refuse to give up. And he knew that he could not give up either. The sacrifices continued. The family spent months apart. Michael worked abroad, sending money home to support the training. Alex's mother, Riza, took over the daily logistics. Alex's brother, Miko, became her hitting partner. The family became a machine, each member playing a crucial role in Alex's development. And through it all, Michael remained the steady hand, the quiet force, the pillar of strength that held everything together. He was not always there in person, but he was always there in spirit. His voice on the phone, his messages after every match, his prayers from across the ocean. He was building something that would outlast him. He was building a legacy, and he was doing it with love. For much of Eala's junior career, her father was not physically present. Work obligations kept him away from many of the tournaments that defined her early years. But he was never far from her mind. Before every match, Alex would call him. The conversations were short but meaningful. He would remind her to stay calm. He would tell her to trust her training. He would say the same thing every time. Enjoy the moment. The result will take care of itself. Those words became a mantra. They echoed in Alex's mind during the tense moments, the break points, the match points. They reminded her that she was not playing for validation. She was playing for joy. She was playing for the love of the game. And she was playing for the man who had believed in her from the very beginning. The phone calls continued as Alex climbed the rankings. Junior titles, professional debuts, Grand Slam qualifiers. Every step of the way, Michael was there. Not in the stands, but in her heart. And even though the distance was painful, it also created a bond that could not be broken. A bond forged in sacrifice and strengthened by time. A bond that would one day bring them together on the biggest stage in tennis, in a moment that would leave the world speechless. When Eala arrived in New York for the 2026 U.S. Open, she was a different player than the one who had first appeared on the Grand Slam scene. She was confident. She was prepared. She was ready to prove that she belonged among the best in the world. But there was something else too. A quiet longing. A feeling that something was missing. Her family was not with her. Her mother had stayed home to manage family affairs. Her brother was training elsewhere. And her father, as always, was far away. But Alex did not complain. She rarely did. She focused on her matches. She won her first round convincingly. Then her second. Then her third. The city began to take notice. The Filipino community in New York turned out in force. The stadiums were filled with flags, banners, and voices singing her name. But through it all, Alex carried a quiet sadness. She wished her father could see this. She wished he could feel the energy, hear the chants, witness the moment. She called him after every match, describing the scenes in vivid detail. He listened with pride. He told her he was watching from afar. But watching from afar is not the same as being there. And Alex knew it. She kept winning, but the ache remained. Then, before her fourth-round match, something changed. Something that would turn the tournament into something far more emotional than anyone could have predicted. The morning of the match, Eala received a text message. It was from her manager. "There is someone here to see you," the message said. Alex assumed it was a sponsor or a media request. She walked into the players' lounge, already thinking about her warm-up routine. And then she saw him. Standing near the window, dressed in a simple shirt and a cap, was her father, Michael Eala, in New York, at the U.S. Open. Alex froze. For a moment, she could not move. Then she ran to him. The hug that followed was not the kind of hug you see in public. It was the kind of hug that carries years of distance, years of longing, years of unspoken words. It was a hug that said everything without a single word being spoken. The people in the room fell silent. Some turned away, understanding that this was a private moment. Others wiped their eyes. The story of how Michael had arrived was simple. The family had pooled resources, coordinated with the tournament, and kept it a secret until the last possible moment. They wanted Alex to be surprised. And she was. Completely, utterly, beautifully surprised. The news spread quickly. By the time Alex walked onto the court for her warm-up, the cameras had already caught wind of the story. And the moment the crowd saw Michael in the stands, the stadium erupted. This was more than a reunion. This was a celebration of love, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bond between a father and his daughter. When the cameras finally focused on Michael Eala, the reaction from the crowd was overwhelming. Fans who had followed Alex's journey from the beginning understood the significance of the moment. They knew about the sacrifices. They knew about the distance. They knew about the phone calls and the tears and the quiet devotion that had carried this family through the hardest years. And now, seeing him there, in the flesh, watching his daughter play at the U.S. Open, they could not contain their emotions. The applause started slowly, then built into a roar. Fans held up signs that said, "Salamat, Papa Eala," and "Thank you, Michael." A group of Filipino fans began chanting, "Eala, Eala, Eala," while pointing toward Michael. He raised a hand in acknowledgement, his eyes wet. He tried to smile, but the emotion was too strong. He placed a hand over his heart, and bowed slightly to the crowd. The gesture sent the stadium into another frenzy. Alex, standing at the baseline, looked up at the screen and saw her father's face. She bit her lip. She took a deep breath. Then she walked toward the side of the court and pointed at him, as if to say, "This is for you." The moment was captured by every camera in the stadium. It was replayed on the big screen. It was shared around the world within minutes. It was the kind of moment that sports fans live for. The kind of moment that reminds us why we watch. Not for the trophies, but for the humanity. With her father watching from the stands, Eala played one of the most emotional matches of her career. The opponent was a seasoned veteran, a player who had been ranked in the top 10 and knew how to win on the big stage. But this was not just a tennis match. It was a moment of destiny. Alex played with a freedom that had been missing from her game. She swung freely. She moved with grace. She smiled between points. And the crowd responded. Every winner was met with thunderous applause. Every break point was a moment of collective prayer. Eala watched it all with his hands clasped and his heart racing. He did not shout. He did not pace. He simply watched, absorbing every second. When Alex won the first set, he stood and clapped. When she won the second set and completed the victory, he raised both arms to the sky. The tears flowed freely. The fans around him embraced him. The cameras captured the raw emotion of a father watching his daughter achieve her dream. It was not just a win. It was a vindication, a validation of every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt. It was the culmination of a journey that began on a cracked court in Quezon City and ended, for now, on the grandest stage in tennis. And it was beautiful. After the match, Eala climbed into the stands to hug her father. The image was instantly iconic. The young champion, still in her match kit, her hair damp with sweat, wrapped in her father's arms. His face buried in her shoulder. Her eyes closed. The world watching. It was the kind of photograph that defines careers. It was the kind of moment that transcends sport. The internet exploded. The hashtag #PapaEala trended worldwide. The video of the hug was viewed millions of times within hours. News outlets around the world covered the story. Sports analysts who normally focused on technique and strategy found themselves talking about family and sacrifice and love. The moment reminded everyone that behind every athlete is a story of people who believed, who sacrificed, who gave everything so that a dream could live. And for Eala, that story was written in the arms of her father. It was a story that the world would never forget. Later that evening, Eala was asked about the moment. His words were simple but powerful. "I have watched Alex play on television for many years," he said. "But tonight, I watched her play with my own eyes. And I saw what I always knew. She is not just a great tennis player. She is a great person. She has worked so hard. She has given so much. And I am so proud of her. Not because she wins, but because she never gives up." The words spread quickly. They were quoted in articles, shared on social media, and repeated in living rooms across the Philippines. They were the words of a father who understood that success is not measured in trophies. It is measured in character. It is measured in resilience. It is measured in love. And in that moment, the world understood why Eala is the player she is. She learned from the best, not from a famous coach or a tennis academy, but from a father who taught her that the most important victories are the ones you win inside yourself. The moment between Alex and her father resonated deeply with the Filipino community. In a culture where family is everything, the reunion at the U.S. Open was more than just a sports story. It was a reflection of the sacrifices that Filipino families make every day. Millions of Filipinos work abroad, separated from their families for years at a time, sending money home to support their loved ones. The pain of distance is familiar. The longing for reunion is universal. And when Eala embraced his daughter on that court, it felt like every Filipino family was being represented. The tears shed in the stadium were echoed in homes across the Philippines and in Filipino communities around the world. It was a reminder that love crosses oceans, that sacrifice is never forgotten, that the family bonds that hold us together are stronger than any distance. The moment became a symbol of hope for millions. It showed that dreams are possible, even when the odds are stacked against you. And it showed that the people who love you will always find a way to be there when it matters most. The story of Eala and her father is a powerful reminder of the role that family plays in athletic success. Behind every champion is a support system. People who wake up early, drive long distances, pay for coaching, and sacrifice their own dreams so that another person's dream can live. Michael Eala is not unique. There are countless parents around the world who do the same thing. But his story is special because of the way it has unfolded in public. The world has watched Eala grow from a promising junior into a global star. And now, the world has watched her father join her at the peak of her powers. It is a reminder that success is never achieved alone. It is built on the shoulders of those who believed when no one else did. It is powered by the love of those who stayed when everyone else left. And it is celebrated most deeply by those who were there from the very beginning. Michael Eala was there from the very beginning. And now he is here at the top. The journey has been long. The sacrifices have been great. But the reward is beyond measure. For Eala, the U.S. Open was already a success before the tournament began. She had climbed to a career high ranking. She had become a household name. She had inspired millions. But the moment her father appeared in the stands, the definition of success shifted. It was no longer about rankings or trophies. It was about love. It was about family. It was about the people who made the journey possible. And it was about the realization that even the biggest stages in the world are meaningless without someone to share them with. Alex has always understood this. She has always credited her family for her success. She has always spoken about her father with admiration and love. But on that night, those words became real. They became visible. They became a living, breathing truth that the whole world could see. And it changed the way people looked at her. She was no longer just a tennis player. She was a daughter, a sister, a symbol of the love that binds families together. And that, more than any trophy, is the true measure of her success. The story of Eala and her father is far from over. The U.S. Open continues. The matches keep coming. The pressure keeps building. But Alex now has something she did not have before. She has her father by her side. And that changes everything. There is a peace that comes from knowing that the people you love are watching. A calm that comes from feeling their presence. A strength that comes from their belief. Michael Eala will not be at every match. Life will call him back. But for now, he is here. And his presence is a reminder of everything that matters. The future of the Eala legacy is bright. There will be more Grand Slams. The moment at the U.S. Open taught the world something important. It taught us that behind every headline is a human story. Behind every champion is a family. And behind every victory is a lifetime of sacrifice. We live in an age of instant gratification. We want results. We want highlights. We want the final score. But the real stories are not in the results. They are in the journey. They are in the hours of practice that no one sees. The tears that no one wipes. The doubts that no one hears. And the love that never wavers. Michael Eala's journey to the U.S. Open was not just a flight across the ocean. It was the culmination of 21 years of sacrifice, 21 years of belief, 21 years of love. And when he stood in that stadium and watched his daughter play, the world saw the true meaning of success. It is not about money or fame. It is about family. It is about love. It is about the moments that make life worth living. The U.S. Open will end. The trophies will be lifted. The champions will be crowned. But the image of Eala climbing into the stands to hug her father will remain. It will be remembered as one of the most emotional moments in tennis history. It will be replayed for years to come. And it will serve as a reminder that the greatest victories are the ones we share with the people we love. For Eala, the journey is just beginning. There will be more tournaments, more challenges, more moments of doubt and triumph. But through it all, she will carry the memory of this night. The night her father joined her at the U.S. Open. The night the crowd fell silent. The night the world was reminded that love is the most powerful force in the universe. And that no matter how far you go, you never forget where you came from. You never forget the people who got you there. You never forget the cracked courts of Quezon City. Because those cracked courts are where the dream began. And this is where it continues. Eala K and PE line at Krni High, etc.